Sorry.
Can you repeat that, please?
Sure. Can you talk about Nityananda Samadhi, please?
Well, today is the day of Nityananda Samadhi. Look, I never met Nityananda, in the flesh, but he's been part of my spiritual development even before I met Rudy. He was a great saint, an extraordinary being who was almost like an avatar, and lived in South India, not far from Mumbai. And, the day I met Rudy, I seemingly by accident walked into his gallery. It wasn't really an accident. It was something that was absolutely predetermined because it was time that I had to meet somebody of his quality to help me with a spiritual life. First thing he showed me, I'll never forget this, a picture of himself lying on the floor at the feet of a, Swami or some yogi with a picture of Nityananda superimposed in his heart. And it was an extraordinary photograph, one that I wish I had today. I don't know where it is. But it was an extraordinary photograph. It was not only an introduction to Rudy, but it was an introduction to Nityananda. Rudy met Nityananda in Ganeshpuri. He was on his way to go live in New Zealand because he was told by psychics in New York that if he stays in New York, he was going to his life would be over. He gave up everything, Rudy. Gave up his business, he gave up family, everything, and he decided to move to New Zealand to study something called Park Subud. I'm not quite sure what Park Subud is, but he went to study that. And in India, one of his friends, he was staying in India, one of his friends said, why don't we go to Ganeshpuri and meet Swami Nityananda. So Rudy went with him, and the meeting was so powerful and so profound that it completely transformed Rudy. It changed all of that dark energy of him going to be killed and murdered or whatever it was, into something so positive and so full of love and joy that he got the message from Nityananda that he has to return to New York, continue his teachings. He brought Nityananda with him into everything he did. He was his root guru. He met Nityananda once for maybe a couple of hours. Nityananda became his root guru. And today is, the day Nityananda went to be with God. And he spent his whole life being with God, but today is the day he left the world and truly went to embrace God, the universe, to become one with higher energy. He saved Rudy's life, and I can honestly tell you over and over again, he saved my life. I've had many experiences with him where I was in a quandary, difficult situations, I needed an answer, and I would sit, and he always would come out of my heart. He would sit right in front of me, and he would give me the answer that I needed. It's been an amazing journey because to have, a teacher, a guru, an energy force of his power working for you in the cosmos, it means you can't bullshit your way through life. You have to be very real about the way you approach your spiritual practice. And it means that energy will keep coming as long as I can be honest to what I do. He has been with me, I don't know, it's 50, since the day I met Rudy, it's over 50 years ago. And I honestly believe he was with me even before that. Remarkable being. He is there to guide every single person that's in this class. You just have to open your heart, visualize him there, open to him. His energy will come out, come down and guide you in your life. Rudy will come down and guide you in your life. It just simply depends upon how open we are. I mean, when I met Rudy, I was a very crazy young man. I was a gypsy. I was smoking dope. I was involved in a lot of stuff that I thought was part and parcel of the spiritual life, but it was just stuff that was killing me. And I remember one day I'm walking with Rudy and he said to me, I'll never take another student like you again. He told me this. And then he said to me, the only reason I keep you here is that you remind me of Nityananda when he was a young man. And I thought that this was something extraordinary to be told by your teacher. I didn't understand it. I don't make any pretense at understanding it. But I knew that there was this extraordinary being in the cosmos who can guide me through the door and onto a path that will give me a spiritual life, my spiritual grandfather. Today is the Samadhi. Today is the day that Nityananda left the world. I mean, basically, he was born in a state of Samadhi, Nityananda. He was born in a state of enlightenment. He's one of those few extraordinary beings that come to the earth literally in a state of enlightenment. And the wonder, he is here. He's in every class. He nurtures anyone who can open their heart and allow him to come in. His energy is extraordinary. And it's a great blessing that you, myself, Rudy, all of us are connected to, Bhagwan Nityananda. I never met him. And it's almost like I never lived without him. It's extraordinary. And that's one of the miracles of doing this kind of deep meditation. Teachers, gurus, swamis, whatever, they come from the cosmos. They work with you. They help you to grow. I remember even other teachers. I remember I was in Delhi with a couple of students of mine, and I was doing a deep meditation. And a voice said, you have to go to Calcutta. You have to go to the ashram of, Ramakrishna and Sarada Devi. Now, I had never been connected to Ramakrishna and Sarada Devi. And this voice kept telling me over and over again, you have to go, to their monastery there and sit and work with them. So I told these students of mine, look, I know Calcutta is almost like the armpit of the world. If you don't want to go, I don't blame you, but I have to go to Calcutta. And the next day I got on a plane and I flew from Delhi to Calcutta. These two people came with me and we went to Dakshineshwar, Ramana Maharshi's, center. And I was sitting there and working at, I think it was his bed or something like that. And he came, Sarada Devi came. And I was going through one of the most difficult periods of my life at that time. It was really, really very hard. And they came and they truly gave me answers to what I had to do to get through the situation. They told me that the Mother Goddess is watching over me and that the only way to get through the situation is through forgiveness. And that's what happened. And within a month, the whole situation dissolved. So you never know, you have to be open to what the universe sends you. And whether it's Nityananda, whether it's some other teacher, I mean, I've had that with, Ramana Maharshi and his ashram in South India. I had the same type of experience. But all of these amazing beings, they're not dead. They're completely and totally alive in the cosmos. And their function is to guide people through this labyrinthine state of madness called the earth, through a door that can give them a spiritual life. But we have to open to them. We have to do the work on ourselves that enables us to draw upon that energy and then allow it to guide us through our lives. And Nityananda is, to my experience, one of the most powerful and also one of the most compassionate, caring. He's there when you need him. Today's his samadhi. But I'm of the absolutely profoundest belief that Nityananda lived in a state of samadhi. He lived in a state of enlightenment. There was no samadhi for Nityananda. He just left the world. He said, "There's enough. I've done my time. I'm leaving. I'm going to go be with God. If you want me, I'm in the cosmos."
Stuart,
Yes.
I can't help but remark that today is known as Lionsgate, August 8th, 8/8. And it's the day that planets align with the pyramids, and several cultures everywhere herald this time as a great portal for energy, new energy coming through. So I'm just wondering if you think this time was chosen for him.
I'm sure it was chosen for him. I'm sure it was his time to go be with God. He had done his service in the world. Yes, it was chosen. I mean, well, the eight and the eight. I mean, look, I'm not familiar with any of that stuff, but it was absolutely a sacred day that he would go and be with God. But I'll repeat it again. I mean, Nityananda spent his entire life being with God. It's just the day he left the world. You see pictures of him when he was a young man, an extraordinary being. I mean, it's like Ramana Maharshi, he left his family, he left everything and went and lived in a cave for 16 years and meditated. It was his service to God, to get past himself and to become one with the higher force. Not saying that we were born to do that. If that's somebody's karma, fine. But saying that, these teachers were amazing, what they surrendered to have a spiritual life. Most people in the West will not surrender. Even in the East, they won't surrender that anymore, to have a spiritual life. I mean, Nityananda, and this is a true story, he went to live in a tree. He was so tired of people, doing he went to live in a tree in a little town called Ganeshpuri, and actually it wasn't even called Ganeshpuri, I think. He just went to live in this tree and they built this town around him. They needed money to do this and that. He reached into his loincloth and gave them all the money they needed. He was living in a tree. And he, according to what I've heard, was the incarnation of Ganesh, the overcomer of all obstacles. But I think when you talk about Nityananda, you have to think beyond samadhi. You have to embrace him as a living manifestation of God's energy in the world. He was like an avatar, the kind of beings that we don't see anymore. Didn't proclaim to be an avatar, he just lived that way. I mean, he's been very much with me the last few months because there was a cycle in my life the last few months that was really, really difficult. You know, I was one thing after the other happening. And I would go to him and then have patience, the cycle will come to an end. And it did, came to an end. And now it's opening on such a higher level that I have nothing but gratitude to him and to Rudy, you know, having guided me through those difficulties, because the energy is getting simpler, it's getting clearer, it's getting more loving. There's less tension involved, there's less having to prove myself involved, who I am and what I am, because I don't really give a shit about what I am and who I am. I just want to be a child of God, you know. And that comes from Nityananda, it comes from Rudy, both of them. It comes from Kala Rinpoche, it comes from every teacher I've ever connected to. Does anyone else have a question you would like to ask? And this, I'm here to pass all of this on to all of you. That's what this is about. That's all these classes are about. And it's there for you to take the same way that, you know, Rudy passed this on to me and Nityananda passed it on to him. And he met him 2 hours, 3 hours, he met Nityananda. Completely transformed his life. Sometimes it's all that's necessary. I mean, I met Kala Rinpoche. I never became a Tibetan Buddhist, but I met him 3 days. It totally changed everything in me. I wound up living in New York instead of living in Texas. So what I'm saying is take advantage of this. This is very special, it's very sacred. I mean, it's kind of a shame that we can't have in-person classes, but then again, when I was traveling in 2019, I traveled 100,000 miles teaching meditation. I always wondered, how in the world can I get people together from all of these different places? And suddenly there's Zoom, you know? Zoom made it possible. Now, I think in-person classes are much deeper and much more profound, but this is what we have, and this is very sacred. This is another way of these amazing teachings that flow from Nityananda to Rudy to myself can pass on to every single one of you. Many years ago, I was a young kid, I was like 20 years old. I read the Old Testament, and there's a whole section there which just never made sense. So-and-so, like pages of this one bequeathing, that one bequeathing. Everybody was having, generate. And then I began to realize after I met Rudy what that meant. They were talking about hundreds and hundreds of years of the teachings being passed on from generation to generation. And that's what this is about. That's all it's about. So this deep spiritual practice stays alive in the world. People, have to grow in themselves. It's not that one wants to be a teacher. One has to evolve into it. Otherwise, it's just ego and position and power and who I am and who you're not. It's just a lot of bullshit. But if you evolve into it, it becomes something very real and permanent and profound, because it comes through a very deep state of surrender. Does anyone else have a question they would like to ask? I hope all this is clear, and I hope it really finds a place inside you, that Rudy and Nityananda find a place deep inside you. And I hope you don't have to wait till next August 8th to recognize the fact that Nityananda's life was one of samadhi. His entire life was that way. He was born an avatar, an enlightened being, extraordinary to have some cosmic energy like that working for all of us. Does anyone else have a question they would like to ask? Okay, I just have an announcement. Next Sunday, there won't be a meditation class on Zoom. I'm having I'm going to be having the retreat next weekend, so I won't be able to teach the class on Zoom on Sunday. Okay, if there are no more questions, God bless you all and thank you. And I hope there'll be a class this Wednesday, and I'm looking forward to seeing you. Bless you.
Thank you, Stuart.
Thank you, Stuart.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Stuart.